Grand Rising. It is Friday, the 14th, November the 14th. And I think I slept pretty good last night. I don't remember all my dreams. I know I dreamt, but I don't remember all of them. It's been an interesting past few days, especially with the project I've been working on, the Earth Angel Novella, which ties in current events. I had to sage this morning, already did some meditation, put on a little bit of war paint before I get ready for work. I'm going in a little bit later today, so I thought I would jump online and upload my video, do a video this morning while I'm freshly awake, because I don't know how tired I'll be when I get home. Fridays are usually kind of crazy at work, so we shall see. Anyway, pull my hair back. There we go. So I've not been sleeping as well as I could be, but at least I'm sleeping. So I had a few minutes before I go in. Thought I would jump on. I was just listening to, I figured I'd spend an hour or two working on the EAP. And the one that I'm listening to right now, the Earth Angel Project, which is, of course, with the evil cabal. And right now, Trump, just crazy. Kirby Summers, why did Trump spend hours with Virginia Giuffre? It's a really good one. I'm only about 35 minutes in. Oh, shit.
I do believe that, I had a feel.
And just crazy stuff. I know she spoke highly of Trump. She said that she spoke highly of Al Gore. She spoke highly of several people. I find it interesting, though, that her attorney was formerly Al Gore's attorney. There was also some pictures of him with, of course, Gore and Clinton's and Weinstein. Weinstein's mixed up in all this shit, too, which should not be shocking. But when it comes to Trump, my way in, I have always believed he was engaged in, and I think even Trump was surprised. Epstein was surprised that she would not mention him, considering how much time they spent together, hours together at his house. And, could you blame her? Look at how powerful he is. Look at, I have always said that he was the one that took out Epstein. I don't know why people are now putting it together, but just shocking, the coincidences. It's just really funny, all the conspiracy theorists that people were, me included. I made fun of a lot of conspiracy theorists, but it's funny how they blamed it only on the Clintons. And, if I was Bubba, I wouldn't want people knowing that Trump gave me a blowjob. Monica Lewinsky, that's okay, but Trump, even he had standards, right? It is crazy. But, anyway. Virginia Giuffre, me personally, I think, it's very good at manipulating. I think he did spend hours with her. And, like he did many people, because he's been able to get away with a lot. Maybe even promised her, I don't know. He did get Epstein arrested in 2019 and then killed. I wouldn't say his name either in my book. I would, but I could see why she wouldn't. So, very disappointing, but not shocking. And I think before she had also talked about how, I think she admits that her father, which is disgusting, her father profited off of her, basically sold her, was sexually involved with her. It's a very, very sad tale. And, yeah, very sad. Anyway, and not just for her, there were other people. Even she recruited and brought other people into. I mean, she was a kid when this started, or as Megyn Kelly would say, it's not a big deal. Fuck you, Megyn. Oh, she's so gross. What a fucking sellout, man. So disappointing, but not shocking at all. I'm gonna be on the right side of the wrong side of history, Heffa. So, as for the evil cabal, let me see what else is going on. Estrella did another, one of my favorite readers, I have several favorite readers, storytellers, is Estrella 5D, and I really like her. Oh, yesterday, part 1, corrupt leaders, Masons, crimes, alien, 3-eye Atlas, underground. Oh. I'm kind of tired. I don't know. All I know is that right now, all those crazy theories, and of course, my project is for entertainment purposes only. It is just a story. I have no proof of anything, but it makes those crazy theories I've been saying don't not sound so fucking crazy. Just like churches being involved in this shit, covering up crimes for pedophiles, just vile, vile, vile stuff. And I really do believe, a lot more of this is going to be coming out. People like David Icke, who, he has some really wild, crazy conspiracies. I don't think he's very far off. So it will be interesting, the next chapter of this part of history, what people are going to open their eyes to. But I, for one, am so glad that, I've literally prayed for this moment. And not out of cruelty. I mean, yeah, I can't fucking stand Trump. I think he's a cunt in so many ways. Just not a good person. Oh, that was another thing that Kirby Summers had mentioned. And I have mentioned before, his mentor was Roy Cohn, one of the most vile, unhappy pieces of shit on earth, who even blackmailed J. Edgar Hoover. You know how crazy that is? J. Edgar Hoover was an evil, vile cunt who would blackmail everyone else. So for Cohen, this Jewish gay bitch who was fucking miserable, to be Donald Trump's, and I'm talking like if Donald Trump ever had feelings, he probably sucked him off, ever had any type of feelings, he did for this man. Like, he really worshipped the quicksand this piece of shit walked on. He's dead, thank God, I think. Yeah, he's dead. But Trump carried on his fucking vile... People need to... I would hope that... I mean, just a vile, vile person. Can't wait for these fuckers to finally go. And, is it Kirby Summers and Sean? I don't know where he's from, the UK, but they were saying just how pretty much anybody in some of these world leaders positions, you know, at this day and age now, because of how corrupt things have become, you literally have to be a sociopath or a psychopath to fill these roles. Because you lie and you lie and you lie, and at the end of the day, you do not serve the people that have elected you into this. You play this game, but you do vile things to get into those positions, and I 100% believe that. I think it's disgusting. So I hope all of them are called out, and I don't give a fuck who they are. If Michelle and Barack Obama participate in this shit, I want to know. I think the public should know, you know. Nothing would surprise me, and there is no fucking loyalty to anyone that I have. My loyalty is to the absolute fucking truth. Period. Even if I don't want to hear it, even if it's not what I like, the truth is what matters. And that's the interesting part of this project is, you know, as I've put on my tinfoil hat and started to tell the story. Well, first, the story came to me, and I didn't like what was being said. I didn't like the storyline. I didn't like digging into my old church and finding out how corrupt it is. And it wasn't something that I was angry and bitter about and wanted to do. I actually fought it for a good year or two. But my intuition and my, you know, what I believe my ancestors were telling me was to keep digging, to do the work that they didn't have the courage to do, to speak out, to speak up. And now, you know, I've been very transparent about like how I'm still trying to get my daughter back, and there's no reason why I shouldn't have her. And she's going to a church that I don't trust, that I don't believe in. And so that's why I've continued to fight hard to tell this story. The more I dig into it, the more heartbroken I get. And the more I feel why it's important that at least the Mormon church failed. I know it failed me, and it failed a lot of children. And, you know, they can hide behind they're perfect, we're the only true church on earth, or we're not as bad as the Catholics, but they're just as bad. They're just as bad, if not worse. So, doesn't make me very popular at family outings. That's why my family, I don't really talk to them much right now. And it's not because I hate them or anything like that, but while I'm working on this project and I'm healing some very deep and dark wounds myself, that even have to do with, you know, memories of my family and things that I went through. I've chosen to kind of isolate myself while I work through this project and I heal. And that's okay. It's good. I wish more people would do that. It's an amazing spiritual journey that I've been on. And I'll be honest with you, I don't miss the drama. I don't miss a lot of people that I considered family, even. I realize my life has gotten a lot calmer. My focus, I'm allowed to love myself, warts and all. I'm not carrying other people's emotional baggage. I'm not looking at people who don't see me to validate my existence. So it's been an amazing journey, and I hope more people choose to do that. So I'm not going to take too long today. Oh, let me get my book. Sorry, Pancho. Sorry. Pancho's laying right under me, and he's, I don't know if you can hear him snoring. But I have been reading from this book. I like it. I need to order some others. Discipline is Destiny, The Power of Self-Control. Ryan Holiday. Who is Ryan Holiday? This is Ryan Holiday. I really like the way he writes. He's a really, really great author. He's one of the world's best-selling living philosophers. His books include The Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, The Daily Stoic, and the #1 New York Times bestseller, Stillness is the Key. Appear in more than 40 languages and have sold more than 5 million copies. He lives outside of Austin. Okay. With his wife and 2 boys and a small herd of cows and donkeys and goats. His bookstore, The Painted Porch, sits on historic Main Street in Bastrop, Texas. Dude, no wonder I like you. Okay. I'm going to have to go visit his shop. I like him a lot. Okay. So he's really hit the nail on the head on several of these that I've been reading. And today we're going to read Temper Your Ambition. Dun, dun, dun. In 1791, a young Napoleon entered an essay contest with the hopes of winning its 1200 franc prize. Franc prize, frantic. Sorry, I'm still waking up. The prompt was a powerful one. What are the most important truths and feelings for men to learn to be happy? The essay took him 6 months to write, and he did not win. But at age 22, in his youthful excitement, he put down as good a warning about insatiable ambition as there ever was. Wow, this is appropriate for now, huh? What is Alexander the Great doing when he rushes from Thebes into Persia and thence into India? He is ever restless. He loses his wits. He believes himself to be God. The future conqueror would write, what is the end of Cromwell? He governs England, but he is not tormented by all the daggers of the Furies. But is he not tormented by all the daggers of the Furies? Damning illustrations of the heights on intemperance. And if that weren't enough, Napoleon then moves in for the coup de grace with a pronouncement whose meaning is unmistakable. Ambition, which overthrows governments and private fortunes, which feeds on blood and crimes. Ambition is like an inordinate passion, is like all inordinate passions, a violent and unthinkable fever that ceases only when life ceases. Like a conflagration which, fanned by a pitiless wind, ends only after all has been consumed. Too bad Trump didn't read this. If only the adult Napoleon had been reminded of these words during those turbulent, destructive years when he named himself Emperor of the French and mandated pompous titles like Monsieur, Altesse Sérénissime, Serene Highness, and Excellence for himself, while placing his incompetent relatives on thrones across Europe. Holy shit, this is like Trump. If only someone could have reminded him of his own feelings about the perils of unchecked ambition. But wait, somebody actually did. In the early 1800s, Talleyrand, his foreign minister, dug up the essay in the archives and gave it to Napoleon as both a gift and a warning, which his Imperial and Royal Majesty, yet another title he gave himself, oh my God, refused to accept as either. The author deserved to be whipped, Napoleon said of his younger self. What ridiculous things I said, and how annoyed I would be if they were preserved, he exclaimed as he threw what he thought was the only copy into the fire. Little shit. It was no coincidence that Napoleon's physical discipline abandoned him around this time, which is why even the most flattering portrait artists could not ignore his increasing rotundness. Oh, he was getting thick, huh? A short time later, he would once again litter the continent with a generation of bodies and find himself exiled to a rock in the ocean where he could do no more damage to humanity. For much of history, Alexander was a cautionary tale for unfettered ambition. Sure, he was brilliant. Sure, he accomplished incredible things. But Where did it leave him? Empty, alone, unhappy, like Roy Cohen. Go, he found himself taunting his own men when they finally realized he would never be satisfied. Go tell your countrymen that you left Alexander completing the conquest of the world. Except he died almost immediately after, and his empire collapsed with him. The poet Juvenal remarked that the whole world had not been big enough to contain Alexander, but in the end, a coffin was sufficient. I want to read his obituary. And what had it all been for? Like Napoleon, it hadn't been about his people or about a cause. He had waged wars of offense and aggression entirely for himself. This was a pathological need to achieve, for which the consequences were ultimately borne by basically everyone else. There is a considerable amount of self-discipline required to quit bad habits, particularly the more gluttonous ones. But of all the addictions in the world, the most intoxicating and the hardest to control is ambition. I think of Musk too. How he will lie, cheat, and steal just to be the first trillionaire or whatever the fuck it is. And kudos to Billie Eilish for calling him out. I love her. Because unlike drinking, society rewards it. Ooh. Okay, let me read that again. There's a considerable amount of self-discipline required to quit bad habits, particularly the more gluttonous ones. But of all the addictions in the world, the most intoxicating and hardest to control is ambition. Because unlike drinking, society rewards it. Isn't that so fucking true? We look up to the successful, when I was just talking about Musk. We don't ask them what they're doing or why they are doing it. Why are you hoarding that much money, you stupid cunt? We only ask them how they do it. We conveniently ignore how little satisfaction their accomplishments bring them, how miserable most of them are, how miserable they tend to make everyone around them in turn. Holy shit, is that not talking about like the evil cabal? I mean, look at Thiel too. He's just a bitter bitch. All of these cunts, Bezos, and they're just fucking miserable. Fucking miserable. Seneca, a man whose ambition got him in trouble like Napoleon, would say of a ruthless general named Marius, the Napoleon of his time, that while Marius commanded armies, ambition commanded Marius. He lamented the leaders and business people and conquerors who disrupted and disturbed the world, while they themselves were disturbed and disrupted. Marius and Napoleon and Alexander were powerful, but ultimately powerless. Because they couldn't stop, because there was never enough. They lusted for control over millions because they lacked control over themselves. Just as we do with our relationship to drugs or devices, we have to ask ourselves, who is in charge? Our mind? Or our selfish need to be the biggest, the winningest, the richest, the most powerful, the most famous? The need to do more, to get more, to achieve again. We have to ask, what is this really bringing me? What am I actually getting out of this? Did Napoleon's accomplishments make him happy? Power and wealth didn't even make him secure. Besides the guilt and shame, which he clearly fucking deserved, he died alone on his second island in the middle of the ocean. I wonder where Trump will die. Now, this criticism doesn't mean that all accomplishments are to be scorned. I mean, what would the world look like if nobody tried to do anything? If nobody pushed to get better or to do more? If we didn't have ambition and some big goal that we're after, how would we know what little things or what distractions to say no to? Ambition is good. It just must be tempered. Like all elements of self-discipline, it's about balance. The monk or the priest who tries to reduce their needs to nothing who reject everyone and everything in pursuit of spiritual perfection is not at all this dissimilar to the billionaire who keeps building and building, or the quarterback who can't even consider retiring. All at the same time, the person who dreams of nothing, who believes in nothing, who tries nothing, well, that's not really the point either. What we're talking about here is really temperament. We must have a sense of self and worth that can check our ceaseless ambition before it o'erleaps itself, as Shakespeare warned. Without the brake that prevents us from getting carried away, ambition not only deprives us of happiness, but it can very well destroy us and harm others. As the insatiable conquerors invariably do, whether it's innocent victims of the wars they wage, the people they use and discard on the way up the ladder, family they neglect in the process, or the countless imitators they fucking inspire. Ugh, maggots. We don't need accomplishments to feel good or to be enough. What do we need? The truth. Not much. Some food and water, work that we can challenge ourselves with, a calm mind in the midst of adversity, sleep, a solid routine, a cause we are committed to, something we're getting better at. Everything else, oh, that's just extra. Or worse, as history has shown countless times, the source of your painful downfall. Boom, boom, boom. Man, that is so fucking appropriate. I'm having to read one more because money, money, money. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, God, this is a long one. Okay, I'm going to read it quick. Babe Ruth, this is called Money is a Dangerous Tool. Babe Ruth made more money as an athlete than a person could have reasonably spent in a lifetime. Who's this remind you of? And yet, there he was, making a pretty good go at it. His rookie salary of $600 when a loaf of bread cost 5 cents was doled out in $50 paychecks twice a month. When Ruth received his first paycheck, he spent it on a bicycle. Then he moved into the big money. It was sports cars, custom suits, leather coats, silk shirts, diamond horseback, horseshoe tie pins, and frequent trips to casinos and racetracks. When there were rumors that his marriage was in trouble, Ruth bought his first wife a $5,000 mink coat. When the Yankees clinched the pennant in 1928, Ruth rented out 4 rooms and threw a party at the hotel. When he learned the hotel didn't have a piano, Ruth went and bought one. His baseball salary earned him more than the President of the United States, but he usually started spring training borrowing from teammates until his game checks came in. Wow. He had no idea whatsoever of money, one manager said. He didn't even seem to think it would ever run out. He'd buy anything and everything. It was with great laughter that the Yankees locker room heard Ruth tell a young Garrick, "Save your money. A bird has to think of a time when he can't play ball no longer." For it was estimated that Babe had, by that time, blown hundreds of thousands of dollars of career earnings on the high life. He had fun along the way, more fun than a frugal man like Cato probably, but he also came to regret it, as did his heirs, as much as his gluttony. So many rich people find themselves in this position. The point of success was supposed to be security and freedom and contentment, and in reality, it brought them anxiety, envy, and instability. "The only thing that worries me in this life is money," Churchill once confessed to his brother. Unlike most of the British upper class, Churchill did work for a living, becoming one of the highest paid writers in the world. But that mattered little when he was, as his mother described him, a perfect sieve as regarded to money. He earned it quickly and spent it faster, then wondered where it all went. His beloved Chartwell, an estate in English countryside, was such an impulsive and ill-considered purchase, it almost cost him his marriage. Churchill would lose $50,000 speculating in the market in 1929. He had a money curse on him. It was speculated. In market 29. It was terrible. It was a terrible loss he could not begin to afford, but also from which he learned nothing. Promptly returning to the market, he lost $3,000 in a single month on Montgomery Ward stock, monkey wards. And that was on top of the actual gambling he did in the casinos of Europe. As if the world wasn't scary enough, in Churchill's time, he would speak of the sense that he was sinking into the abyss, because financially he was. He would once draw himself as an overloaded little pig, carrying a 20,000-pound weight on his back. Even during the Blitz, he was arguing with his agents over royalties and thinking about tax exemptions. Why? Why? It was ill discipline. It was an attempt to treat himself in a way that his parents hadn't, to buy the love and fun he had missed out on. It was an attempt to prove himself, to keep up with the best and the brightest and the richest of his time. Thankfully, Churchill was a vital and energetic man, but how much of this vitality was wasted? For what? And even if he was lucky enough to skate by, his son, who inherited his habits but not his talents, was not nearly so lucky. If only his father could have held off. When your choices turn you into someone who has to worry about money, then you are not rich, no matter how much you make. Across the Atlantic, the author F. Scott Fitzgerald wore himself out in a similar fashion. He was infatuated with wealth, with glamour. He was driven and ungodly talented, but also impossibly immature, and in a marriage that brought out the worst in both parties. I used to write for myself, he lamented while staring at his mountainous depths. Now he wrote to keep the collectors at bay, to dig himself out of a hole with his editors or his friends. It destroyed his confidence, stole from him the love he had for his craft. Despite lifetimes of earning what would be millions today, he would die essentially broke in a hotel room alone. His fortune was gone, and it had come at the cost of so many lost years of great writing. That poor son of a bitch, Dorothy Parker said as she looked down at her 44-year-old Fitzgerald in his casket. What struck her most was his worn and wrinkled hands, quietly evincing the toll of all the excess, all of the indulgences, something not even the most skilled embalmer could hide. If you have money, spend it. The problem is when people spend what they don't have to get things that they don't need at a price nowhere near worth the cost. Damn. Luckily, Churchill had just enough self-control, or perhaps good luck, that he never went fully over the edge. He never found the bottom of that abyss, but it was a close call. And how different the fate of the free world might have gone if he had. What makes you think you can afford that risk? That you're so talented the spigot will never turn off. That you can burn the candle at both ends. That you won't be corrupted by your endless need for more. Oh, Musk. It's worth taking a minute to clarify that living beyond one's means isn't the only form of reckless money management. The virtue of Cato's restraint, can just as easily be taken to excess as it perhaps was even by Cato. He was a little tightwad. It's also irresponsible to be penny-wise and pound-foolish, to grind your life and vitality into dust, trying to save minuscule amounts of money on things that just don't fucking matter. Discipline with money is relative. The internet abounds with legitimately wealthy people sharing tips on how to reuse their trash bags or stack coupons to reduce the cost of things they shouldn't even be thinking twice about. We must be on guard against how easily this becomes greed, seeing money as all ours. Frugality and generosity rarely seem to go together. Isn't that the truth? They aren't sweating the small step, they're sweating the microscopic. It's important to save, sure. We just want to make sure that it isn't costing us our most precious resource, time. It may well all cost us relationships with lovely people, our spouse, our children, our friends, who are not quite so strict with themselves. So for centuries, on both extremes of the money spectrum have fundamentally misunderstood its value, its purpose. Fitzgerald thought that the rich were special, that they were different from other people. Yeah, they're money-hungry cunts. Hemingway would write in response, yes, they have more money. Money isn't good or bad. It's a tool. This is a really good lesson. Churchill's writing, for instance, supported him when he was exiled into the political wilderness. If money provides freedom or leverage, then great. If it becomes an addiction or a disorder, or worse, a distraction, not so great. Like any powerful tools, money also has its dangers and must be wielded safely and consciously, and is not for the weak-minded. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it can buy you out of some frustrations, nor can it give you freedom if you are dependent on it to provide you with things you don't need, or more than any reasonable person actually needs. Bezos, fucking cunt. The problem is that many of us tell ourselves that someday we'll be beyond this. That if we can just earn enough, be successful enough, we won't have to consider any of it. We will be beyond moderation and financial conscientiousness. We will have transcended the everyday worries of the common man. We can just do what we want, when we want, as much as we want, because we'll be good. We will have arrived. Here's the thing. This never happens. Fuck you, money. It's literally, it says that. Fuck you, money is a chimera. You never get it. Nobody does. Poor people have poor people problems, and rich people have rich people problems, because people always have problems. You're always going to be subject of the necessity of self-discipline, or at least you'll never be immune from the consequence of ignoring it. And this fuck you money really, and is fuck you money really such an admirable goal anyway? To have so much money that you don't have to care about anyone or anything? That's not a virtue. That's childishness. All you really need is enough money to be comfortable enough to politely say, no thanks, I'd rather not. To never have to do anything for a buck that's contrary to your values. To be able to stick with your main thing. No amount of money is ever going to truly free you. No amount. But being less dependent, caring less about money, that'll free you right now. There's a quip from the Stoic Monsonius Rufius, who, dealing with a particularly frustrating person, greed, paid him quite a bit of money to go away. When a follower objected and pointed out the man's many faults, Monsonius simply smiled and said, money is exactly what he deserves. But this can cut both ways. Plenty of people have made plenty. It doesn't have to make them worse. Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth were both in the 0.001%. Queen Elizabeth and Queen George IV inherited the same priceless jewels and fortune. We decide which direction we'll go, better or worse, a luxury or burden. We decide whether we deserve what we have gotten. Wow, that was a really good one. Holy crap. Ambition and money. How appropriate for the downfall of these motherfuckers. Trump specifically, but not just Trump. I mean he's a main focus, but it's going to bring down a lot of people, all this Epstein stuff, as predicted in the Earth Angel novella. Anyway, that was really good. There was one other thing that I was going to post, and then I'm going to, it doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with the fake assassination attempt. Very curious that Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan, not that I trust those fucks very much anyway, but they're smart enough to know to abandon ship and start jumping off the Trump Titanic. They're supposed to release what many other people besides those cunts have been saying, that the assassination was fake, and that the FBI has covered up. And the assassination attempt for Trump, that fake photo op piece of shit, was not real. And if that is the case, not if, when that is exposed, it's just the biggest I mean, 2 people literally lost their lives for a psyop. And that may not mean shit to powerful people. You fucking cunts. But it just goes to show how little these people, not just Trump, but his whole party, how little they give a shit about humans. Like what's going on with the, is it Venezuela or Argentina? Where's he shooting down boats of fishermen just so that he could get their resources, or start a war to try and create a distraction? Literally just murdering people that have families, people that have lives, even if they were fucking drug dealers, which the majority of them, if not all of them, are not. No due process, no nothing. It's horrendous what we have allowed ourselves to become and what we've allowed people to get away with. So, TikTok motherfuckers, I'm so glad this part of our history is being exposed as the truth, and now we can change. And I do see big changes coming. So anyway, I got to wrap this up because I want to try and upload it, and it takes forever to fucking upload. And I got to get ready for work. I'm going to take a little power nap with Poncho. Oh. Make me another cup of coffee. I don't know why that sleepy's just hit me. But I hope you have a wonderful Friday. And, thank you for being part of my spiritual journey. Love you. Bye.